Hello, everyone. My name is Chania, and today I will be talking about art in action, youth civic engagement through accessible theatrical education, also known as the Capstone project I worked on this year as a John Lewis Young Leaders Fellow. So to get us started, I want to give you all a quick idea of what this project even was. It's actually something that I conceptualized a few years back with a friend. And our goal at the time was just to create a free theater company. It wasn't so much about workshops or training. It was a lot more about bringing plays to underserved communities so that they could engage in theatrical culture. It's honestly pretty different from what I ended up working on this year, but that was the initial idea. After doing more research, I realized that theater can be a really useful tool in education. It can really help kids come out of their shell and teach them some really important social and emotional skills, as well as helping them become more confident, assured, and just overall qualified leaders and community members. So this is a pretty long statement of need, but as I just mentioned, we ended up doing research on the benefits of theater. And we realized that it can teach kids a lot of really important needs that they might not learn in schools, especially if they come from more underserved communities, go to schools that are severely underfunded usually, and that they may just not have access to other opportunities like this. So the final project ended up being regular workshops that we would bring to kids over in Pico Union. Those workshops were completely free. They were an hour every week, so it was a fairly low time commitment that would not disturb the kids' schedule too much. And it allowed them to meet with one another, receive free mentoring, and really work on a project that would help them come out of their shell. So our statement of need essentially relates that, and it places a great emphasis on the fact that this is bringing stuff to kids that might not usually have access to it, and that it is also allowing them to really bring their stories to the stage. It allows them to speak of things that matter to them, and it allows them to make sure that their voices are being heard, something that usually doesn't happen. We realize that theater is something that is an incredibly important tool of self-expression, but that the communities that oftentimes need it the most are also the ones that don't have access to it. And so this project aimed to rectify that. So restating our main objectives, the first was to build up students' social and emotional skills, training them to be efficient leaders, communicators, and organizers. So we wanted them to be able to work together, to lead something that they were passionate about, and to make sure that their voices were being heard and that they were communicating their needs, their desires, their stories in a way that others could understand and relate to. We also wanted to provide them with a safe out of school space, which is something that has been shown to be incredibly important, especially for educational and academic attainment. And we also wanted them to have accessible mentorship, specifically with college students that they could relate to, ask questions to about things like higher education. And so we wanted to provide them with that mentorship. And lastly, I wanted to make sure that this program would have ways to continue after the end of this fellowship. I didn't want this to be just a one-off thing. Okay, I finished this. Let's move on to the next thing. I wanted this to be something that would be continued and that the kids would consistently have access to in future years. So there are a few ways that I was able to achieve these objectives. First of all, I created a curriculum centered around foundational social and emotional skills. Essentially, I had clear learning targets. It's like pretty much one learning target per lesson, per workshop, and exercises that we typically use in theater that I felt could help the kids practice those social and emotional learning skills. These exercises were delivered through free weekly classes in a well-known community center that the kids were in walking distance to so that it wasn't too much of a hassle for them to come to the classes. And we are also organizing a final community showcase, which will be taking place on June 3rd, to essentially help the kids showcase what they have been learning, to help them present a project that they are proud of, and to make sure that this program is not something that only impacts the students. It is also something that impacts their community, their teachers, their parents, their friends, and so that they are also able to engage in the benefits of theater. And lastly, to make sure that this program is able to continue running after this year, I hired qualified and dedicated staff, many of which have extensive theater experience or extensive educational experience, oftentimes both. And I partner with a well-established community center, the Pico Union Project. They have been delivering different types of art classes and other types of cultural events that the community is free to engage in. And so I thought that they would be a great community partner, and they have been amazing to partner with. So some of the outcomes, I have this in two categories. First of all, at this time, and then my desired final outcomes. Because as I previously stated, the final showcase is not until June 3rd. This is because we are going along with the kids' school schedule. So at this time, students are currently rehearsing their final showcase project. It is a play entitled Harmony that they worked together to conceptualize and worked with me to write. They have been rehearsing it. They've been taking on roles like actors, directors, technical directors. And it is just a play that reflects the values that they wanted to discuss, specifically unity, family, acceptance. And so they have been rehearsing that, and they have been showing clear signs of really strong progress in their leadership style and important emotional connection. A lot of the kids came in being very shy and very closed off. They weren't really able to participate at first. They maybe did not feel the most confident. And over the past few weeks, I have really seen them grow into themselves and connect with each other in a way that I am incredibly impressed by, and that is honestly the heart of this program. Now, my desired final outcomes for my theater company is to make sure that the kids are truly able to connect with their audience during their final showcase. As I previously stated, theater is something that can be incredibly useful for the actors, for the technicians. It is also something that is incredibly important for audience members. And so I want to make sure that the kids are able to put on performance that allows the audience to really understand them and connect with them. I also want this project and this final showcase to bring new topics of discussion to the community. The kids worked on a project and on a play that is really important to them, that showcases discussions that are important to them. And so I hope that those are discussions that keep going after the showcase is over. I hope that this is the change it brings to the community. And lastly, there are a few ways that I am going to be evaluating the success of this program. Firstly, through the students. This is already in progress. I have been observing student progress during each weekly session, taking notes on it, and essentially seeing how are different students growing during these classes? What are some challenges that they still face? How can we best address those? And so those are ways that I have been actively improving the program as it is going. And those are also ways that I will be modifying the program, getting ready for next year, and making sure that it is the best it can possibly be once we come back after the summer. After the showcase, I also plan to collect some verbal testimonies regarding the program experience, and this will allow me to make it an even better program for next year. I also want to continuously survey my staff members. This is something I have already been doing during each of our not weekly, during each of our staff meetings. I have been working with them to assess their organizational and leadership skills and to see how I can best help them grow into better leaders and better educators. And lastly, once the showcase happens, I also want to talk with some audience and community members to see what their experience was like watching the showcase project and seeing how they felt before seeing it and how they feel coming out of it, how they think that it might influence the way that they relate to their youth and the way they relate to the students. So this project has honestly taught me so much, and there have definitely been some big wins and some losses that I plan to learn from for next year. So firstly, I was very lucky to partner with the Pico Union Project. They are a multi-faith center over in Pico Union. As I mentioned, they bring regular art classes and cultural events to their community. And working with them has honestly been so amazing. They have truly provided me with a space to teach and work with those students. And I truly hope to keep working with them next year because they have been honestly one of the best things that happened to this program. They are in walking distance of all of the kids' places, and a lot of their staff already know the students. And so this has been essential in making sure that this entire program is a comfortable experience for my students. Additionally, I was also able to create an amazing staff team that have been so on top of it. And honestly, this project would not have been running as smoothly without them. So I'm incredibly grateful to my staff. And it has also taught me a lot about managing such a staff team. And so this has been great. Now, I would say the main loss is attendance. I was expecting slightly greater attendance, and I think that this is teaching me to emphasize publicity and outreach efforts for next year, making sure that I am finding as many opportunities to connect with the community, particularly by coming and advertising in person. Another big thing that I realized is that a lot of Pico Union is primarily Spanish speaking rather than English speaking. And so this is something that I should keep in mind when conducting outreach, because although a lot of my students speak English fluently, many of their parents and guardians do not. And so this is something that I should keep in mind when conducting outreach to make sure that it is as inclusive as possible. And so some next steps, the biggest thing is that I do want this program to continue next year, and the biggest challenge that comes from that is funding. I was really lucky to receive funding through the Kennedy Human Rights Center, and next year I will have to find alternative fundraising opportunities. The biggest one is obviously through grants, and something that I have to do in order to receive such grants is to officially declare the company as a nonprofit. So this is something that I hope to work on over the summer, making sure that we are ready and that we are able to apply for additional funding. And of course, I want to perhaps expand some of the stuff that we do within the program. So perhaps going beyond the kids writing their own play, maybe putting on different existing shows, maybe having more lessons focused on directing or on technical theater. Just making sure that we are covering all bases, especially since this will likely be year long rather than just a few weeks, as I did this year. And so that's all. Thank you all so much for listening.